Hello, Education 2220 students. I hope everyone had a great week last week. So we are moving along and trucking along, and we're actually down to the wire. I can't believe it. We are already on Module 9. So I want to go ahead and, before we get into Module 9, just let you look at the calendar to see kind of how we're going to finish the semester off strong. So you'll see here we are on week November 10th through the 16th. We are working in Module 9. You will be reading Chapter 9 in your Teaching in Today's Inclusive Classrooms. You will have your Module 9 quiz as well as an assessment discussion that you will use your textbook to complete. Now, past that into the next week, you will see this is a 2-week module. The reason I did that is because there's a lot packed into that, but we also have our Thanksgiving break Thursday, November 27th and Friday the 28th. So I thought it would be good to let that be a 2-week module, and that will be completing all of our modules for this course. You will see here, you also have your co-teaching presentations due on November 30th, your Module 10 quiz is due on the 30th, as well as you will have to have your service learning closing documents, as well as your written assignments. So we'll get in that in just a minute, but your written assignments are going to be things like your service learning journal and in your written analysis, which will be submitted to Dropbox. However, your closing documents is what your mentor teacher will submit for you, either through email or you can have it in a sealed envelope and drop it off in my box on my office door, or you could just have them mailed to the school. So it's really up to you or your mentor teacher how they want to get those documents to me. But there's no place for you to submit them in Dropbox. The only thing that goes to Dropbox would be your journal and written analysis. And that written analysis, again, is that paper, right, about your experience. And then after that, that last week, we do like our wrap up activities, course feedback, we take our post test, makeup work is due that week, and then we have our final exam. So that's pretty much going to finish out the semester. Let's go ahead and get into Module 9. Now, Module 9 is all about assessment. Now, this whole text is really about how we could use universal design for learning to help us in inclusive classrooms. So, really, what we do with assessment in Module 9 is look at what UDL assessments are and how they can inform our instruction, how we support student growth, and how we can design assessments that are more meaningful but give us the data that we need to support those IEP goals. So we can really, it helps guide us to more effective teaching, and then it helps the students support learning as well. So for your overview for this, I went ahead and listed what are course outcomes. This actually hits quite a few in this module, but our learning objectives is how we're going to be able to really reach these course outcomes. So we're going to be able to, at the end of Module 9, describe the types and uses of large-scale assessments, alternative assessments, and then ongoing assessments. So you really know the difference between the three and then how you would use them. You're also going to identify and describe effective classroom assessment approaches based on your student needs, explain methods for planning and organizing assessments, and then discuss approaches to recording assessments. So that's really going to be your focus and how we're going to be able to reach our course outcomes. As always, I went ahead and listed here some keywords and concepts that you're going to see that will be in your textbook chapter 9. Also, here are your standards. We have our INTAS standards. This module supports learner development and assessment. And then underneath Council for Exceptional Children, this module will support assessment and collaboration. So what are your resources for Module 9? Well, obviously we have our textbook. We're reading out of Chapter 9. We have our Chapter 9 PowerPoint. And that's going to help us. So really for this module, we're going to rely heavily on our textbook chapter 9 in teaching in today's classroom, inclusive classrooms. So, as I mentioned, you will be completing a quiz as always. You have multiple attempts until it closes, and that will be due on November the 16th. So, that's when it will close, which is a Sunday. But what you're going to do instead of submit something to Dropbox is you're going to do a discussion board. So, we're going to click on the discussion board. I'm going to kind of walk you through it a little bit because you are going to have to use your textbook to help you. So, in our chapter 9, you're going to read about multiple intelligences. Now, this theory was developed by Howard Gardner. And what he says is that he describes there to be 8 distinct areas of intelligence that everyone can demonstrate. And it varies depending on your level of proficiency. And so, what you're going to do is realize that to really understand intelligence of a student, we really have to first get an understanding ourselves of what a multiple intelligence inventory is. So remember, these inventories really ask questions so we can identify what student strengths are, and it really helps tailor our teaching practice to that student. And also helps us develop assessments and adjust them. It helps us with instruction methods and really diversifying the different types of learning that will be going on. So Howard Gardner developed this intelligence theory, and based on that, we have a inventory that I want you to take. So if you look specifically in chapter 9, okay, you are going to look at figure 9.2. So it's on page 234 in my text. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the inventory yourself. And what I want you to do is you are going to share your results. So once you complete it, it's going to give you your results. And you're going to share those on the discussion board and post them, as well as reflecting and answering on these questions here. And remember, you need to respond to at least 2 classmates if you want full credit on replies. And again, go back to the discussion board rubric, and that shows you the criteria for discussion boards. Now, when you're answering these questions, I want you to think back on your past school experiences. Now, this could be in um, past college semesters, it could be past high school, past elementary. Really think about reflecting when you're answering these questions on those situations, okay? And when you're doing this, think about personal, right? We want to give at least one personal example of an effective assessment that you encountered, as well as one that wasn't as effective. And remember, when we're doing this, we base this on a student's preferred learning styles as well. And that's really what the 8 multiple intelligences tell us, is that we look at different intelligences just like we would look at the whole child. And it's going to give us a better understanding so we can change our practices and our methods to support the learner in the classroom. So go ahead and complete that. And again, you will respond to at least 2 students in the classroom. All right, this is a heavy chapter, but there's a lot of great information, and I think that you will take a lot out of it. And I look forward to reading your discussions. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Also, reminder for those of us that are in the service learning or you've completed your hours, don't forget you need to continue working on your journal and your written analysis paper, and get that submitted to the Dropbox. And also, continue working on your co-teaching lesson plan and presentation. Next week, I will be doing a video to talk a little bit about how you can record yourself and your screen as you're presenting. All right, until next time, take care.